right. Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Ashley Marlow. I am a facilitator for the All Learners Network. I'm also a third grade classroom teacher in Colchester Schools. I'm at Mallett's Bay. I've been with All Learners for about a year and a half now, and the session you just joined is called HLC Learning Progressions. Today, we're going to be looking at a brand new resource a small group of us have been working on for a couple of months now that actually started a little over a year ago. This is something that people who have been involved in ALN have requested for a while. And so I'm going to share those brand new documents with you. So I just want to make sure everybody knows which session you actually joined. And I won't be offended if you realize you joined the wrong one and leave right now. It is tricky on Zoom, although it does happen in person too. People come into the wrong room and realize, oh, nope, this is not where I wanted to be. So today we're going to be working from a Google slideshow. I am going to drop the link to the slideshow in the chat. I will screen share with you at some points throughout this session, but I always appreciate being able to just follow along on my own. I also think sometimes when we screen share, we can't all see each other. So I just want you to have that. Also, once you have the presentation, you'll be able to, this will just continue to be a live link. You can add it to your Google Drive because you're going to want to be able to access the documents that we share today. They are not officially published yet. They're still in draft form. But as we said to the earlier session, you know, I'm hoping that you see that these are a really beneficial document and see a way to get started using them right away. So I want you to have access to them. So the only way you'll be able to do that is if you keep this presentation. So like I said, if you want to just click it and add it to your drive or take the link and paste it somewhere where you won't lose it, you might want to go ahead and do that. Awesome. It's so nice to meet all of you. I'm hoping today that moving on to the next slide 5, I'm hoping that we can make some connections here. I hear some of you work in similar areas, definitely similar positions. So one of the goals of today, of this whole conference, is to make connections with other educators that are doing similar work. I think this year in particular, a lot of the work we're doing is pretty isolating. So I'm hoping today you can leave making some connections, even though we can't see each other in person, with other people who are doing similar work to you. So on we are on to slide 5. Slide 5, I shared a Mentimeter link with all of you, and I'm wondering, what is your purpose for being here today? What are you hoping to get out of this conference? If you choose 1 or 2 words to write, you could either fill out all 3 blank spaces on that link, or you could just fill out 1. Just to see why you chose this session and what are you hoping to get out of today's work. So if you go to slide 5 in the slideshow, click on where it says click here to answer, it'll bring you to a Mentimeter page. And then you can see the results on your own by clicking the bottom link, but I'll also screen share with you. So I'll give you a moment to go ahead and answer, please. So I set this up to create a word cloud to share some of the things that you are thinking about as you come to this session today. I see new resources, getting excited, inspiration, activities. Give you another minute to go ahead and fill that out. Looks like some more were added. Some of us are interested in the trajectories. Collaborate, check out new resources. That's the big one. So when you're looking at the word cloud, I see learning is largest in the center there. And hopefully that's, hopefully you're getting some new learning out of all of our conferences today. Awesome. So moving on, we are on slide 6. So I just like to set a purpose for our work today so we're all clear about our expectations. Today, we are going to review the high leverage concepts. Most importantly, we are going to share the new resource that All Learners Network has been working on, the high leverage concept learning progressions. So taking each of the high leverage concepts at each grade level and breaking it down so you can consider what your students already know, what they need to move to the next level in order to demonstrate understanding of that concept. And obviously, as I said earlier, make connections with other educators that are using All Learners Network resources. I think the more people that we can be connected with and bounce ideas off of, the better, especially when some of us work in smaller districts where you don't necessarily have a lot of other people teaching the same thing as you right next door. All right, so I am going to share with you my screen again. I want to talk about the high leverage concepts. I know some of you might be familiar with the high leverage concepts already, but just a brief overview. The high leverage concepts are the essential understandings that All Learners Network has used a variety of resources to determine are the most important high priority concepts for each grade level. So we have high leverage concepts for grades pre-K to 8. On this slide, I'm showing you the high leverage concepts for grades 3 to 5 because that's the purpose of this session. If you have not had a chance to take a look at the high leverage concepts on this slide, I linked to the All Learners Network website where you can check out the high leverage concept documents. There are 3 maps that you can look at: pre-K to 2, 3 to 5, and then 6 through 8. We also have high leverage assessments for each of the grade levels. So there's an assessment that that you can use that you could provide for students to help you see where they are at in their learning of the high leverage concept. And then today, we are going to take a look at the learning progressions that we've developed so that when you're looking at student work, you have a better idea of where students are at, what they already had coming into this new concept, and what you can do to help them move forward. So if you have not checked out the high leverage concepts, I'm going to give you about a few minutes, maybe 3 to 5 minutes. Go ahead and click the link there, HLC's link or HLA's link. If you're already familiar with the high leverage concepts, you can take a 5-minute break, but it's really important that you have an idea of what the high leverage concept is before we move into the progressions. So I will keep myself on the screen. You're welcome to turn your camera off, click the link, and come back in about 5 minutes, and I'll be here if you have questions. Right, did anyone have any questions about the high leverage concept for your grade level or grade levels you work with? Any questions about the readability of the document? One thing that was recommended to us in the earlier group, the group that was looking at the K-2 progressions or the K-2 high leverage concepts, was potentially some type of glossary with some of the math terms that are used. Specifically, we talked about cardinality and other math vocabulary that someone who's new to a given grade level may not be as familiar with. So that was one piece of feedback that we got. So as you're looking at these documents, anything that you notice or that you would think would make these documents more useful for yourself or for other teachers, we would really appreciate that feedback. Our whole goal is to make intervention, whole class instruction a little bit easier for teachers by providing useful strategies. So if we're comfortable with the high leverage concepts, we are going to move on to slide 8. So I will go ahead and share that with you again. All right. So this was a project that was started with one of the All Learners Network cohorts about a year ago. It's something that has been requested by teachers since I started with All Learners. And we feel like we have a pretty good go at it, but we just finished this up about a month ago. So these sessions are really an opportunity for us to share the work that we did so far on these high leverage concept learning progressions, take any feedback that you have and make adjustments. Today, you're going to have an opportunity to explore the documents. You'll be shared the folder with the draft PDFs. And at the end, I'm going to share a Google form with you so that if you notice something, you can let us know if there's any problems or any issues with readability. So looking at slide 8, this is just a screenshot of one of the learning progressions that we wrote. Like I said, we wrote them for grades pre-K through 5. This session is focused on grades 3 through 5, but you have access here on the slide to grab the pre-K to 2 as well. So if you want to check those out, you're not limited to just looking at grades 3 through 5, but today's session, we try to break it up a little bit in case anyone had specific questions about the content. So when you're looking at these documents, at the top, you'll see the high leverage concept listed so that you are reminded what is the high priority content for that grade level. And these documents are intended to be read from left to right and top to bottom. You'll see in the K to 2 documents, a lot of the concept students are learning through modeling are developed at the same time. A lot of the skills are happening simultaneously. But when we move into grades 3 through 5, looking at multiplicative reasoning and fractional reasoning, the documents really go in a top-down sequence, and then you'll see reading from left to right, starting with September. What would you want to start the year looking for, and what would you expect by the time you get to June? And you'll see that there are some places, like on this example here, where there are empty boxes because we would expect that you would not start the year working on that skill. You would probably start something earlier on in the document, and then you would ultimately get to that skill later on in the year. So that's just a quick overview of how the docs should be read and how they're written. On this slide, you can see the yellow here. That is where the pre-K to 2 folder is linked and the grade 3 to 5 folder is linked. We're going to have a little choose your own adventure time. I think it's important to have some independent think time before I put you in groups. So you're going to have some time to work on what you want to work on and ask me for help individually. So what that will look like, I would suggest turning your camera off if you want to, because you'll be in a group alone. And then if you have a question while you're in your breakout room alone, you can click ask for help. It'll be right on your screen and it'll signal to me that I need to hop in and check in with you, and we can have a private conversation. Then I'm going to put us in small groups to share what are we thinking about these documents? How do you think you could use these documents? What would it look like to use these documents in an intervention group? What would it look like to use these documents in a one-on-one conference with a student? How do you see yourself using these documents in planning your whole class lesson? One of the members of the group earlier mentioned how these documents are really beneficial for planning your launch. So that type of conversation. So your 3 choices are to explore the HLC's document that's linked on slide 7. You could explore the HLAs on the ALN website. Those are the assessments that go with the high leverage concept. That's also on slide 7. And then on slide 8, I've linked the 2 sets of HLC learning progressions, the PDFs for pre-K to 2 and for 3 to 5. You could spend some time exploring those. I think we'll take about, just checking in on our time. If we take about 10 minutes to work on our own, and then I'll bring you back and I'll put you in small breakout rooms with others to have a conversation. That way we can work by ourselves and in small groups. So one question I think that was an important one that we should just share out with the whole group before we move back into small groups is, what is the purpose of the high leverage concept in relation to the rest of your pacing guides and the rest of the curriculum you need to teach at your grade level? So really our stance on that is the high leverage concepts are the most essential concepts all students need at the given grade level that they are at? So what do all fourth graders need in order to be ready for fifth grade? Yes, you're still in your main lesson going to teach the rest of the curriculum. You still have many other Common Core standards that you need to teach to and provide students opportunity to learn. But the high leverage concepts, I really think about them as, what is the bare minimum? What does everybody need minimum in order to be ready for the next grade level? They are the focus of my intervention groups. They are something that I regularly assess and check in on to ensure students are making progress toward understanding that concept. And by the end of the year, it's the most important concept that I share with the next year's teacher so that they know where that child should be coming starting at the beginning of the year. It's also the thing that I really emphasize when I'm talking with parents. It's the concept when we're writing IEPs that we emphasize. When we're writing IEP goals, we look to that document. And now we have these progression documents that help break it down a little bit. So hopefully you were able to take a look at the progression document and see what are the small bites I need to take out of this bigger concept. What am I looking for students to demonstrate understanding? And how do I get them to that next level so that by June, all of my students do understand that concept? So currently I'm teaching subtraction within 1,000. That's a really important third grade standard. And my intervention groups and my additional assessments are all focusing on multiplicative reasoning. So I can make sure I have a really solid understanding of what my students know today and what I need to be able to move them forward. So you might think about that in terms of your launch. You might think about that in terms of the groups that you're pulling, the conversations you're having with parents, because it's the most priority concept for that grade level. So it's not all you teach, but it's the thing you want to make sure all your students have. So there was another question. Oh, someone mentioned the CRAs. Those are another type of assessment All Learners Network uses to help gather information about students. We are all about, and I know Bob Laird focused on that this morning in his keynote, we're all about knowing where students are at today and having a growth model where you're looking at, instead of looking at a deficit model, these are what my kids can't do, looking at, wow, here's all of the things my student was able to show me they are able to do, and now I know what to do next. And that's where the progression documents come in. These are all of the things I can see that my students know how to do, and now I need to move them to this next step to get them ready to master this concept before next year. So what I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. You are going to go into a breakout room this time. And let's see. So you're going to go into a breakout room with a couple of other people in our session right now. And I want you to have a conversation about the work you just did in your little choose your own adventure time. How do you see using the high leverage concepts, specifically the high leverage concept progression documents in your instruction? As I mentioned, these are brand new. You saw they still have the draft watermark on them. We literally just got done with them less than a month ago. This is the first time they're being rolled out to the public outside of the ALN facilitators team. And we're really looking to ensure that we wrote these documents in a way that will be useful for teachers and interventionists, special educators, curriculum leaders. We're all about providing helpful resources for teachers. So if you're finding, we want to see what you plan to use them for, and then we'll take some feedback on what do you think might need to be changed to ensure that the readability is universal for all teachers. So in your group, I'd like you to just have a conversation. In what ways do you plan to use this resource? We're going to use a Jamboard to share our thinking. If you're not familiar with Jamboard, basically it's a blank white template document. I posted this question at the top. And on the left side, you're able to, I believe I can click this right now and I can show you. So it looks like this when you click open the link. What is one way you plan to use this resource? On the left side here, you can click this little sticky note and you can choose whatever color you want to write in. And then you just type either what your thoughts are individually or what you discuss as a group. So you could have one person click and fill it out for your whole group, or you could fill it out individually. The previous group did it individually, and it was a really nice way for us all to see what are the different ways people are thinking about using these resources. And then something somebody did in the other session that was kind of cool was use the drawing tool here, and then you can put a little check mark next to a sticky note that you agree with. And that's just a great way for us to share. You'll have this link, it'll stay a live link to be able to go back and see that making connections piece. How do other people think that they might use this document? How is this going to be beneficial? So I'm going to give you 10 minutes to talk as a group and fill out the Jamboard for me. I'll send you a reminder when there's a few minutes left to please open up the Jamboard. So as we're coming back, I'm sharing the Jamboard on screen share so you can see what the other groups discussed since we weren't all talking at the same time. I'm seeing small group instruction, using it to plan your weekly menu, using with grade level teams to focus on your planning. Definitely special ed, using the progressions to help and the high leverage concepts, especially to set goals, intervention, setting goals for students, planning your instruction. Let's see, using the previous year's assessment. I heard that in one of the groups, some schools are using the high leverage concepts and the HLAs to assess the previous grade levels high leverage concept at the beginning of the year, to have an idea when you start the year, how many of your students are coming in really demonstrating understanding of the previous grade levels high leverage concept, and starting the year with intervention groups that are focused on the previous grade levels high leverage concept. I do the same thing. Let's see, special educators, yep, small groups. Awesome, so you will all continue to have access to this Jamboard. Everything in this Google presentation you will keep and have. I would suggest, like I said earlier, saving the link, putting it in a place, adding it to your drive, so that you can come back and access this Jamboard to remember what you discussed in your groups, but also to access the high leverage concept progressions. They are not officially published yet. As you saw, they're still in draft form. We're taking the feedback that we get today and in some of our future events to be able to make sure that these documents are ready to roll and are meeting the needs of teachers to ensure that they're readable and able to be used efficiently. So thank you for taking the time to come today and participate. And then on slide 13, I'm sure you heard about this in the previous session. If you click here, we have a lot of things going on this year with All Learners Network. If you want to get more information, if you click here, you can access the ALN website. You can access the online courses we wrote this spring. This year we started a menu subscription. Some districts have chosen to take advantage of that. There are free lessons. We wrote, I believe it was 10 weekly lessons in the spring that include they're all related to the high leverage concept related at that grade level. So there's a game, there's a problem, there's a challenge problem, there's a video, there's a journal prompt. There are 10 of those for each grade level. I believe we did K through 5. So take a look at those. Those are free. We talked today about the high leverage concepts. We have a blog, and then there's a community discussion page to keep in touch with other people who are using ALN resources. So we started with identifying our purpose. Today, I wanted to share with you the high leverage concept learning progressions documents. Now you have access to them. The only way to access them right now is through the link in this presentation. So like I said, don't lose this. If you think you want to continue exploring those, said it a few times. If you leave the chat, it's gone. So make sure you hang on to that so you can start using those documents if you see that they'll benefit your instruction. Hopefully today you were able to make some connections with other educators who are also using ALN resources. And I hope you had some time to think about how you could use these in your own instruction. We all need a few more hours in the day. So hopefully today's time was useful for all of you. That is it for us today. I will stay on for the last few minutes of this session to answer any individual questions. Otherwise, I wanted to leave you a few minutes to fill out that Google form for me, if you don't mind. Thank you so much for coming today.